Welcome to The Explainer. In this edition, we're diving deep into a theory that claims a hidden hand has been steering world events for centuries. We're going to be breaking down the core ideas from the book Bloodlines of the Illuminati.
So let's start with a quote from the author himself, Fritz Springmeier. This really gets to the heart of what drove his entire investigation. It's this belief, which he says is based on first-hand reports, that a secret elite group is truly running the show.
Now, to really get our heads around this theory, we're going to break it down into 5 key parts, just as the source material does. We'll start with these alleged 13 ruling bloodlines. Then we'll look at how they supposedly stay in control. After that, we'll dig into the Kennedys as a case study, explore some pretty wild claims about Disney, and finally, wrap up with the supposed endgame, the New World Order.
All right, so the first major piece of this puzzle is the idea that global power isn't in the hands of governments or shaped by ideologies we know. Nope. According to this theory, it's held by just a handful of very specific families. This is the absolute foundation of the whole thing, the idea that real power is hereditary and it's passed down in secret.
So, who are these families? Well, the author points to some pretty big names. You're definitely going to recognize some of these. The Rothschilds and Rockefellers, famous in the world of finance, or the DuPonts from industry. But the theory claims they aren't just rich, they're dynastic lines that have been secretly calling the shots for generations.
But here's the thing. The term bloodline in this context means way more than just being rich or influential. The source defines it as a lineage that's deeply involved in occult practices, working together on a secret long-term plan to control everything that happens on the world stage.
Okay, so if these families are secretly in charge, how in the world do they actually pull it off? How do they use that power? Well, the next part of this theory gets right into the nuts and bolts of their alleged control.
The whole idea here is that this power structure is built to be invisible. It's meant to be hidden in plain sight, supposedly operating through all these different layers of secret organizations, like a maze designed to keep anyone from ever seeing the full picture.
And the author lays out a pretty clear pyramid of control. It all starts, supposedly, at the bottom with secret societies like the Freemasons. From there, they extend their reach into the financial system. And with that economic power, they can influence and even install political leaders. And finally, you've got intelligence agencies at the top, allegedly used to enforce the agenda and keep it all under wraps.
To show how this works, the source uses the Society of the Cincinnati as an example. Publicly, it's just a historical group for descendants of Revolutionary War officers. But the allegation is that its real, hidden purpose was to push for a strong central government and a national bank, basically copying the model of European secret societies.
Now, to make all this less abstract, the theory dives into specific case studies. And we're going to start with a big one of America's most famous political dynasties, the Kennedys.
The author flags this poem, written by Jackie Kennedy. Now, you might think the Golden Fleece is just a reference to Greek mythology, but the claim here is that it's actually code for JFK's ambition to climb to the very top of this secret power structure, specifically a group the book calls MJ-12.
And this is where the theory presents this really stark contrast. On one side, you have the public image we all know, Camelot, right? Public service, charisma. But then, on the other side, you have these allegations of a family tangled up with the mafia and Satanists, leaving them wide open to blackmail and involved in major cover-ups.
This all leads to a really specific accusation of conspiracy. The story goes like this. There was this guy, Tyler Kent, a code clerk who supposedly found documents proving that President Roosevelt was secretly pushing the U.S. into World War II. The allegation is that Joe Kennedy, JFK's father, stepped in and had the guy's diplomatic immunity revoked so he could be arrested, all to make sure that story never got out.
All right, let's shift gears a little bit. We're moving from high-stakes politics to something very different. We're talking about culture and an alleged conspiracy aimed right at the human mind.
So, the source material asks a pretty wild question. What if Disney's classic movie Fantasia wasn't just entertainment? What if it was actually designed as a sophisticated tool for trauma-based mind control?
The author gives this incredibly detailed, minute-by-minute breakdown. For instance, remember that scene where Mickey chops the broom with an axe and it multiplies? The claim is that's a script to teach a mind how to splinter into multiple personalities. The swirling galaxies? That's supposedly a blueprint for building entire worlds inside the mind. A simple drum beat is taught as the cult's heartbeat, and that hell pit scene is allegedly used to install deep, foundational fear.
So what's the bottom line here?
The claim is that a beloved piece of animation is, in reality, a highly sophisticated psychological weapon supposedly designed to create programmable individuals through trauma, complete with hidden personalities.
Okay, so we've looked at the who, the how, but what about the why? What's the ultimate goal of all of this? After centuries of secret control and manipulation, where is it all supposed to be heading?
Well, the source says the final stage is something it calls an open conspiracy. And what that means is they don't even need to be secret anymore. The idea is that the public has been so conditioned over time that we actually start helping them reach their goals without even knowing we're doing it. And that endgame has a name: the New World Order. The theory defines this as the total wipeout of individual countries and traditional religions, all to be replaced by a single world government and a global religion based on witchcraft and the occult.
The book leaves us with this really chilling thought from the author himself. He frames his own work as a dangerous act of rebellion. And he leaves you with a question about his own fate. In a world supposedly controlled by a group this powerful, what happens to the people who try to pull back the curtain?